Hey, Katie Taylor, that victory at the weekend, it was absolutely brilliant to see her win it. Where do you rank her in the greatest Irish sports athletes of all time? And like even just shortlist, who comes to mind?
Greatest Irish sports athletes of all time. In terms of worldwide achievements, Pádraig Harrington, Brian O'Driscoll, Sonia O'Sullivan, Katie Taylor. I think she's right in the conversation, isn't she? I think she's right in the conversation.
She has to be up there. Like
I think she needed that the other night, though. As mad as that is to say, it's 11 years on from the Olympics. What really cements someone's legacy when they're beaten and like she was the underdog? That was the first time she'd ever been. I'd hazard a guess and say it was one of the first times in her 213 fights, amateur and pro, that she's ever been an underdog going into a fight. One of the first times.
The Belgian one, what was her name? Pursoon or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, yes. And obviously Amanda Serrano as well. But she was underdog going into a fight, and it was kind of like it was a real GA interview after almost. I can't believe so many people wrote me off or lost.
We knew coming down here.
Yeah. But like humans have very basic needs and requirements. And like if I wrote you off and said you can't do this or you won't do this, that would just give you another 5 or 10%, and it clearly gave her another 5 or 10%. I think she's brilliant to watch as well because she just stands there and slugs a lot of the time, and it's brilliant to watch. Like there's been some of her fights where they're just slugging there in the middle of the ring for like a good minute or minute and a half within a round. And she obviously learned a hell of a lot from the first fight. I don't have the zone or anything like that, but I just watched back highlights of it yesterday. But it was very polished in comparison to the first fight, where she said she just didn't feel like herself at all. And she kind of boxed like that, to be fair. But I'd have her right up there. She's probably top 3. Like who Paul O'Donovan would be another good one as well. Yeah, like as regards world achievements, as Richard Morgan says there. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but the Indo did a Tainted Goal podcast around the 25th anniversary of her gold medals, and it's a brilliant listen.
All praise, I suppose.
Not much, not too much praise. Very little.
Okay, so you'd have to put Roy Keane up there, and by dint of his scoring record, you have to put Robbie Keane up there. Do you count Rory McIlroy?
Shane, come on now. Would you have Robbie Keane in the top 3 or 4? Like genuinely?
No, I'd have him in the conversation, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a rugby player? Like overall, our rugby teams have underwhelmed. No matter what rugby player you're going to name, they've done well in terms of like we've been the best team in the world the year before a World Cup, but we've dirtied the togs every time we've gone into a World Cup. So I'm not sure how much, and like even in terms of the Lions, how many times have the Irish players been absolutely crucial to a Lions win versus how many times have they been dropped and the team has gone on to do really well because of it?
Yeah, that last chapter of O'Driscoll's career kind of it puts a little bit of blight on his career, but I still think like for the period of his career, I'd say he was one of, if not the best players in the world.
Yeah, he was magic to watch.
Over a course of a decade, I'd say.
But can we put him down, considering it's like an 8-team competition in international rugby? Can we really put them down as Ireland's greatest sports person if they've never delivered on the international stage at the World Cup?
Yeah, that's why I'd have Harrington unbelievably high.
Yeah, Ronnie Delaney, who doesn't have an E at the end of Delaney, I don't believe.
No, it's spelt kind of funny.
Yeah, Stephen Roach, Roy Keane. Who else would we be looking at? Would you be putting any GA player in there?
In time, David Clifford could come into the conversation.
Yeah, interesting.
Henry Shefflin is probably in the conversation as well. Am I right in saying Henry Shefflin is Henry Shefflin the last GA player to win the RTE Sports Personality of the Year?
He actually said in his autobiography that was like he really pointed that out as been a very big deal for him to win that. That was
yeah. It's particularly like because you're basically pitting him against professional sports people and saying no, you were the best this year. Brilliant amateur career, obviously capped by the Olympics, but like professional career, no. Like
you're writing off the Olympics.
I'm not writing off the Olympics, but as regards if you're talking about
did you put Sonia O'Sullivan in the list here and you're going to rule him out on the basis of Olympics?
That was one Olympics.
Ronnie
You're looking
Delaney.
at Ronnie Delaney should be in the conversation, definitely.
Yeah, on the basis of an Olympic goal. But Michael Cruz is no bueno for you.
I love Michael Cruz, and I love the jump at the end when he won. But Jesus, come on, it's not that's you're talking about. Name me another achievement outside of that Olympics.
Well, okay. Do you know a load of what Ronnie Delaney did outside of the Olympics?
No, but I haven't really been talking about Ronnie Delaney much.
Yeah, well, look, you agreed he was up near the top when Traumspieler.
Olympic silver medalist, obviously multiple European champion, world champion. You know.
Okay, so where's McGregor going?
Oh,
two-way world champion.
Oh God! If you get into his activity over the last couple of days.
Gary Toohey said Robbie Keane is barely top 10. He's not in the conversation. Katie, Paul O'Donovan, and Harrington have done it regularly on the world stage, followed by Raj, Brian O'Driscoll, and Sexton. Now, obviously, I'm kind of just winding up people a little bit on the rugby. They have done unbelievably well in their careers and winning European titles and all that at club. Ronnie Delaney blessed himself. Next question says 𝘬𝘈𝘀𝘀, probably referring to McGregor there, who when did he last win a fight of note? Was it about 2016?
Cowboy Cerrone in January of 2020.
Cerrone was absolutely useless. A couple of shoulders into the face early on, and he was done. That was a joke fight. Cowboy
Cerrone, who has, I think, the most amount of knockout victories in UFC history, and the most amount of head kick knockout victories in UFC history as well.
As in, he's been knocked out.
I'm not trying to justify McGregor. I'm just saying that, you're totally downplaying what is a future Hall of Famer in the UFC in Cowboy.
He was basically a tomato can at that stage. He was a knockover job at that stage.
Yeah, I tell you something. You call him out there, he'll come and knock you over fairly quickly.
But I would say that the last fight of note where McGregor has beaten somebody who's somewhere near the top of their game is probably the first Nate Diaz fight, which was a questionable decision. And that was 2015?
Eddie Alvarez, when he won the lightweight title, I'd say. He sparked him out in the second round. I think that was after the second Diaz fight.
Oh, you might be right. Let me just double check when that fight was.
I'm definitely right.
That was November 2016. Yeah, fair enough. But I would say I don't count the Cerrone fight because I thought it was just a joke and Cerrone was done at that stage.
Okay. Give me your top three here really quickly. Greatest Irish sports people of all time.
Calnan,
Jimmy Doyle, Owen Kelly.
yeah. Okay, 𝘬𝘈𝘀𝘀, Robbie Keane's goal scoring record will not be beaten in our lifetime. He smashed Stapleton's record too. Stapleton had something like 21 at the time, Frank Stapleton?
1920, I think, yeah. Because I remember looking back at a clip recently where Liam Brady kind of scoffed at Robbie Keane after he scored his first couple of goals, where he said he'd love to break the record. And sure, what did he end up on? To go to 70? I think it's 68 in my head. I was 68 in my head.
Something like that.
Could be wrong. But that on an international stage, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have him in the top 5, maybe in the top 10.
I'd go with. By the way, do you include Barry McGuigan in this? And Shane Lowry, your own local there.
Do we include McIlroy? Sorry.
Well, he wasn't going to include himself on the Irish Olympics team.
Don't know. He's on the island of Ireland, obviously.
Well, then we're putting George Best in here.
We'll be here till next Thursday.
Okay, you name your three.
In no particular order, probably Harrington, Katie Taylor, Paul O'Donovan.
And by the way, should Zach Toohey get a bit of a mention here, considering what he's done?
Savage, yeah. I wouldn't watch enough AFL to probably, if I did watch a bit more, I'd probably have him higher up in the list. But as regards the real high end of the list, I think you're talking about people. Again, AFL is played in one country, if you get me. Whereas Harrington has got 3 golf majors where he's competing against the best in the world. Katie Taylor is competing against the best in the world. And my third person is Paul O'Donovan, who again has won against the best in the world.
Okay, I suppose I'll go Michelle Smith, Conor McGregor, and is there anyone else controversial I can go?
Throw that out for the crack. Sean Kelly.
Yeah. SSRI says Johnny Giles, Sean Kelly, the cyclist, maybe. Paul McGrath in the conversation says Richard Hogan. It's really, it's almost impossible to guess here.
When you go through it, like Jesus, we've produced some, like, even I'm thinking about like who's the greatest Irish soccer player of all time, and you have like Paul McGrath, the two Keanes, like they're good conversations to have. Isn't it great that we've produced that level of people over the time. Andrew 𝘱𝘳𝘰𝘮 says Watford Crystal, the horse obviously that won a gold medal and was subsequently rescinded.
Eddie Jordan, he's another one up there. Fergus Butler says Eddie Irvine. If we're going to include McIlroy and Barry McGuigan and so on and so forth, it's a tough one. Okay, so I'm going to go with Roy Keane, Katie Taylor, and Padraig Harrington.
Good lists all the same, yeah. Good lists all the same. Yeah. As Keane was at the top of, Keane was one of the best players in the world during that spell. And do you know what's brilliant about Keane is how, and he'll admit this himself, he was he was limited enough, but by God, he made the highlight reel you could watch back of Keane's best bits or whatever. And I think what's underestimated as well is the man was able to score goals, particularly in the early stage of his career. He just changed. It was a different role maybe as his career went on.
How have you not mentioned Ken Doherty, says Richard Hogan?
Well, Ken, obviously world champion. We probably could throw Alex Higgins into the mix as well. Alex was a 2-time world champion, I think, late 70s and 1982, I think. At a time, for a good spell, Padraig Harrington was one of, if not the best golfers in the world. Would you say that about Ken from the 97 to 98 spell? But Harrington would have had much greater longevity, I would have said, throughout his career. He was at the top for a lot longer, as was Keane, as was Paul O'Donovan, as was Katie Taylor.
Yeah, okay. Well, keep your comments coming in. Let us know what you think. The Ulster